Hi guys, good evening and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I'll be discussing what I thought of the latest and very entertaining episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch, which dropped today on Disney+. I just finished watching it, really enjoyed it. Before I get into all of that, of course, please be warned, this is a spoiler-filled review, so if you're not caught up on Star Wars The Bad Batch by this episode, today's episode, the most recent one, you don't want to keep watching or listening, as I will be discussing spoilers, plot details, character stuff, all that jazz. That being said, you have been warned. Let's dive right back in. First and foremost, a very solid conclusion to the first episode in this two-episode story about these guys being stranded on the moon, or this planet, after trying to secure a new mine for their employer, Sid. You know, that was what the first episode was. And then somebody stole their ship. And now the second episode, this one was about them recovering their ship whilst liberating a space mine in the process from a greedy overseer. You know, I love how one of the characters in this show, Omega, finally says flat out, like, for the record, like, it's like she's talking to her fellow clones, but she's talking to the audience as well, that the Empire isn't the only threat in the galaxy. It's people like this Mako guy who were exploiting desperate, starving, hungry people for cheap labor so that he could, like, enjoy and live off the profits and eat all the food, while he made his workers literally fight over rations and rewarded them for rations for what they could bring him and give him and all the work they could do for him. And thankfully, Omega and her new friend Benny were able to expose that. I knew Benny was obviously going to do the right thing in the end. Like, I also kind of suspected he'd betray her and the other clones by turning them over to Mako, but in the end he ended up doing the right thing when he realized his boss, whom he admired so much, you know, was exploiting him and his fellow workers. And then that's what got them all to turn on him. And then it gave him a very satisfying villain death. I did enjoy seeing Mako fall to his death in the big lava pit thing. That was very satisfying. Because earlier in the scene, I was so disgusted with how he was very much pigging out and eating like a literal pig, all this food. And I'm thinking, where's all this food coming from if this guy's telling everybody that they have to ration and be careful and how much they eat and whatnot? And then he's just, you know, the whole time. I'm like, my God. You know, what's funny, too, is that this episode was exciting, but not the kind of excitement you expected. Like, you thought there'd be a few gun battles here and there between the clones and the droids, but it turned out to be more of a kind of a standoffish excitement, you know, and the excitement where allegiances switch in the heat of the moment, and bad guys become good guys, and the main bad guy, the true bad guy, gets what's coming to him. And then our characters part on good terms with the people they weren't on the best of terms with in the beginning of the episode, like Benny. You know, they got their ship back, they got all the parts back, all their stuff returned to them. And then, you know, Omega telling Tech that, you know, the Empire's not the only threat out there, that there are tons of other worlds with people like Mako. But then, as Tech gently pointed out, there are people like him, Omega, and the rest of the batch as well. People who are trying to make it right and do the right thing and free themselves and free and help others. And hopefully that was a little hint or an allusion to the budding rebellion that's currently in the works, I believe, at this point. I mean, it's not a full-blown rebel alliance at this point, because this is the early days of the Empire, but I think pockets are definitely begin to form throughout the galaxy. And hopefully we'll see more of that as the show goes on. So overall, I really enjoyed this episode quite a bit. It was exciting. It was rather heartfelt, great villain death and a defeat overall. And I love that the workers in the mine are now going to actually find the Ipsium that they were looking for, or the Ipsum, is that how you say it? And they were actually going to get their fair share in profits and food as well. So it all worked out for everybody. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. What did you think of it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your night. Star Wars The Bad Batch drops new episodes every Wednesday on Disney+. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks for watching. And, of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.